The thing I've been thinking about is the big screen adaptation of Lord of the Rings. Hugest thing for Y2K people. Millennials when we were young, or Gen X even. Remember the Lord of the Rings series, how big a deal that was when it came out in the theaters, right? I've been thinking a lot about it, and, knowing what I know now, Sauron was definitely supposed to represent the Illuminati. So, knowing that, Tolkien was very Christian. The series was written after the World Wars. The superficial explanation is that it's about communism and fascism, power seeking in general. It has Christian themes. But there's no question that the Eye of Sauron is supposed to be the Illuminati, right? And knowing what I know now, I fully believe the Illuminati is behind both the fascist revolution and the communist revolution. And I bet you Tolkien knew that too. So you might ask yourself, why would they make the communist revolution? Leftism is the enemy of capitalists and bankers. And the answer is this. The Illuminati has a long game goal of first dismantling every monarchy, right? And the ultimate long-term goal is the New World Order, right? Basically, every state will be of slaves, and all the leaders of the countries will be united and controlled similarly. The so-called pyramid will look more like a flat line. Everybody will be forcibly equal and held down with technology, and only the ones holding the capital and the immediate orbiters who they need in the future will be above them, right? And if you look at all the social systems of the world, which one does that look the most like? The answer is communism. So the Illuminati, I think a system more like communism is actually their long-term goal. And the reason they uplifted the communist revolutions in the East, in China, in Russia, at the time they did, is they wanted to first dismantle their feudal systems, because that's the enemy of the NWO. And they wanted to stagnate them. At that time in history, we were not ready for a communist state. They knew that. They knew in 1917, we needed the illusion of liberalism, the illusion of freedom and competition, individuality to spur technological development. So they knew at that time, far left revolutions would effectively destroy their culture. So all the unique culture to Russia, to China, to any place that accepted communism would start to be erased. It's anti-human, it's anti-individuality. And while dismantling their cultures and weakening them, it would also stagnate them so they couldn't compete with the West, with them. And that would give them time to infiltrate their societies with the Illuminati, right? The reason they cared so much that Germany could fall to communism, and I should mention, they made fascism as well. That's more open in the sense it is on record that the Western capitalists were supporting Hitler. Because after the stock market crash and the Treaty of Versailles and Germany went broke, they knew there was going to be some kind of revolution against the Kaiser. And again, that's the Illuminati wanted to topple every feudal system. So they knew it was going to go either communism or something else. And the reason they uplifted Hitler is at the time in history, Germany was the preeminent technological power of the world. Again, everything about the Illuminati, these Satanist bankers, money holders, globalists, is they want to harvest and control all technology so they can enslave humanity, right? You need to accept that that's the end goal, owning every last bit of technology to enslave all of humanity. So given at the time, Germany was ahead of us in technology. You know, they make jokes like Nazi tech sucked and shit, but Germany was doing all that by itself while also kicking out a lot of talent because of their weird race system. So, could you imagine the sheer talent in that country that they still did that good of a job by themselves, rebuilding from nothing, and like weirdly excluding like Jewish people who could have helped build better shit? We got fucking Albert Einstein because there were like no Jews allowed. The fact that they could keep up and had pretty good tech tells you why they wanted them to go fascist and not communist. They didn't want them to go to the communist world. They wanted especially Western Germany. And that's why after the war, they were like, give us Western Germany. That was the heart of technology at that time in the world. And you look at the post-war decision making, we didn't send their tech people to prison. We hired them for NASA and shit. You know that, right? So you're trying to tell me that what I'm saying is crazy? That they uplifted fascism when they could have. They could have right away made them liberal, and they could have got together all the heads of banks in England, in the United States, and assassinated Hitler, who was on the rise, and put some liberal guy. They could have done that. They saw the writing on the. They knew this guy was going to be a dictator. Are you kidding? They probably didn't know the extent he was going to go and the craziest shit he was going to do, but they knew this ain't no good. They could have killed his ass and made like their own Churchill or FDR. No, no, no. Let's not do communism and let's not do fascism. Let's do liberal progressivism like FDR. They gave us FDR. They planned FDR. You know that, right? We didn't fight for FDR. They gave us FDR because they didn't want us to fall into fascism or communism. So you're telling me they couldn't do that for Germany, such an important state with so much technological power? They deliberately let Hitler rise so they have an excuse to crush it. It's the same strategy Israel's doing now with Palestine, where they deliberately nurtured Hamas, paid Hamas, prevented any other alternative to Hamas, then turned around and said, now we have to destroy you so we can own you. That's what we did to Germany. Oh, you're fucking crazy. I'm depressingly sane. Depressingly sane. That is absolutely why that happened. Above all else, they didn't want Germany falling to the communist world because it was so important. West Germany was the preeminent technological power, such talent there. Look this up, you don't believe me. They were ahead of us at one time. Science and technology, West Germany. No questions asked. My weird autistic grandpa's homeland. They could have made an FDR for Germany, paid him, boosted him. You don't think the Rockefellers, all these people could have figured that out? Yet weirdly, they decided to support Hitler. Looks a lot like how Netanyahu and the like good have been nurturing Hamas all this time. The capitalists and the bankers connected to ours were nurturing Hitler. You're telling me they couldn't think of a way to give them they planned an FDR for us, but they couldn't plan an FDR for them? You think FDR just happened out of nowhere? After the stock market crash, they were like, we're going to end up on guillotines. They're really pissed. We're going to either fall to communism or some kind of weird fascism. So we better make like a liberal socialism. And that's how the concept of democratic socialism was born, with shit like FDR, where it's like you're still liberal, you still have capitalism, you still let people own things. You just throw some bones and do better. Now, incidentally, it is the best system for people, but they don't want that. The Illuminati does not want democratic socialism. They give it to you to blind you of themselves hiding in the shadows, just waiting to destroy and enslave you all. So the first step is accepting the concept of liberalism with socialist leans was invented by the Illuminati, the capital holders, the bankers, the merchants, the satanic bloodlines, whatever you want to call these freaks. It was invented as a way to, in economic downturns, to stave off communism and create like a stasis of complacency. So you don't realize these parasites got to go. So you don't realize let's shoot them all in the basement like they did in Russia. And at this point, I realize every single revolution in the world, they've been behind it. And every single one, if you look at their long-term goals, helps them. So the first step was destroying every feudal system. The second step was stagnating the East so they could amass and control all technology using freedom, competition, liberalism to innovate and own the best technology. But the end goal for them, for the world, is a state like communism. It was always what they wanted. They just introduced it to them too early so they would be held back. That would allow them to gain power until they could control them too. Why do you think there's all these reports, people like Epstein related to our elites, with pictures of Lenin on his wall? The victims will say that like they were obsessed. They're obsessed with communist leaders. It's because they did it. It's because they wanted to destroy all feudal systems, but they did not want them competing and developing yet. They only wanted them competing and developing once they felt they had enough wealth, power, technology to enact the next stage of the plan, which is using technology to enslave and monitor the entire world. Where they assumed productivity of people, most people, would be irrelevant, rapidly approaching that point. And at that point, the technology built in liberalism can now be used to make a sort of global communism. And don't delude yourself. They have no goal of equality or equity. They want communism for its slavery-like qualities, where you don't matter, your life doesn't matter, you're born, stamped a number, and they monitor everything and they decide what you get, and you have no capacity to change that besides service and obedience. Unlike in the liberal world, which works better for regular people, where when there's some role for productivity, the things you do, the choices you make, your output or not, determines what you get. So you have some more agency over your life, and there's more room for your productive deeds to get you things. In this future world, they will actually punish people capable of doing better because those people are harder to control, and they're going to reward the most subservient, slave-like, conformist types who will be perfectly happy to be a kept pet, monitored completely, like a fish tank with exotic fish in it. Like, they're fine with that life. And those people usually have less talent, less ability, don't care about anything but getting food like a pet does, right? They introduced communism to them to stagnate them, but still introduce the concept of the world. And above all, it's destroy their culture, destroy their history, destroy their religions, and introduce the concept of global slavery-like system. And the rivalry was always somewhat artificial. What is true is they wanted the world polarized into the West, Western Europe, and America, liberal, where they live, and they're going to be owning all the technology they're producing. And the East, they wanted them mired and stuck in the misery of communism. But the system of communism, where there's masses of slaves that are brutally oppressed and have to conform, they're eventually going to bring that to the whole world. Once the technology they built in the liberal world is at a point, they can do that, and we are at that point. We are rapidly approaching that point, and that's why you see everything you see. That's why they've planned Trump. That's why the culture has been attacking any liberal story. I said years ago, and ever since then, they've been saying I hate black cartoons like a weirdo. They've been saying this like morons. When I said I notice in culture, any story that valorizes individuals going against the group, where they're not like anybody else, and it's all about their individual qualities, are being replaced with valorizing group identity, valorizing your immutable characteristics, and making it groups against groups, an essentially illiberal message. And I said how changing the child's story of the Little Mermaid to less be about an individual who's very different from everyone to more a racial difference. It is a underhanded way of undermining that message, and you could see them doing this all over culture. They completely changed my point to say I don't like black people because, you know, again, they're creating these group wars. You got white MAGAs fighting Hispanics. You got whoever these fucking people are pretending to hunt Nazis. White people that they've accused of harms and crimes that are so secret you have to torture it out of them. And ironically, I was right. Like, you are a member of a group, you're a number. You have zero regard for individuality or deviation. You think it like an object of a group, and that's what they want, right? And the end game is everyone is just a number who doesn't exist or matter as an individual. All of your power comes from a group. A very communist slavery like thought, you know, where the only value they're going to look for in a citizen is obedience. Because they're anticipating very soon they will own the means of production for real. They won't need humans to produce. They'll need like a few to run the machines. Everyone else will have to accept the life of a slave where they have no control over their lives. They have nothing they do determines if they get shit other than obedience and performance of obedience. Much like a communist state. And that's what they want for us, right? Not for equity, but because they want to enslave humanity. Because they're psychologically freaks obsessed with control of humans. Anyway, I went on a long tangent. I was originally talking about Lord of the Rings and how Peter Jackson brought these movies to a new mass audience in the Y2k, and thinking to myself, it's very evident the Eye of Sauron is the Illuminati. It's very evident Tolkien knew that they were involved in the fascist revolution and the communist revolution, that their insatiable desire for power, no faith in anything, satanic atheists, just leads them to flippantly do so much evil to enslave people. And the symbol of the orc is somebody who's fallen under their control, becomes an agent of destroying anything human under the influence of this. And characters like Gollum are clearly like they're high rollers where the scam is up and they've lost the power, the delusional power they had. Someone like Gollum would be like a C-list celebrity who's now shilling for MAGA. Like, just totally mind controlled. In that time, they were somewhat successful, and now they're just clinging and lingering. And the Ring of Power is just a symbol for animal-like, inhuman obsession with power, domination, the desire to enslave and control the world. Which is why Sauron, which is the Illuminati, needs the Ring of Power, right? And he wants to enslave all the races of Middle-earth. Does that sound familiar? What I can't understand is, why would they not only adapt those books to a movie that would be a blockbuster, but celebrate it when it's so evident that Christian-ass Tolkien hated the Illuminati, knew of them, was disgusted by them, viewed them as the poison of the world, and was against them. And the answer I have for you is bragging. I think these people... Note that one of their most famous symbols is Baphomet. It's a titted goat, half man, half woman, half animal, half human, that's doing a as above, so below symbol. And it's supposed to represent a wise leader of the world's ability to balance good and evil. But I think what it actually represents subconsciously to them, that's what they'll tell you when they do speak of it at all, But subconsciously, what it represents to them is their control, their slave master status of the world. And the good is the image in the eyes of the ignorant. Oprah's great. Obama's great. So the good part of their rule would be the control of the sheep, the control of the slaves, where they see these people like Tim Onion, the Darth account, presidents, and they think they're good. They think they're there because they should be there. And the below part is that they really are evil, that they're everything the unenlightened think is a lie. They'll consciously say it's how they balance good and evil. But what it really represents is the top layer of society, their illusory control, what the lowest prole thinks to be true. Then I have to vote against Trump because the MAGAs are doing this. And then the other side's like the commie transes are after us. The good is that the top layer of veneer of control, and the evil is the truth, that they're just for themselves. They control everything, and everything's a lie, right? So I think subconsciously that's what it represents to them, but consciously they tell themselves they're balancing good and evil. And that's exactly why they like the symbolism, because despite him making this book after such heinous acts they committed, the communist revolution, the fascist revolution, having Germany fall to fascism so they would have an excuse to destroy it and own it and klept all their tech people. That's what it comes down to. Don't fucking kid yourself. You think they wouldn't do that? We can see Israel doing the same thing now in Palestine. You think I'm fucking with you? The strategy they're using in Palestine is verbatim what we did in Germany from World War I to World War II. We fuck them over, we oppress them, we make them broke, and then we nurture destructive leaders who will be rogue elements, so we have an excuse to go and crush the fuck out of them and take what we want from them. In Israel's case, they want land. In the case of the Illuminati back in World War II with Germany, they wanted control of West Germany to harvest the tech people. And they all went to work for NASA and shit. Yes, they did. It's kind of weird if they're all committed, they did these Nazi crimes, why we would hire them, because that was always the goal. It was neutralizing the threat of West Germany outcompeting America in the UK, creating a military crisis using poor Jews as scapegoats to basically take control of the place, take their people, and now they're no longer, now they're an asset of ours, completely and totally. They did not want it to go to the communist world, even though they were behind that too. Because the role of the communist world was to stagnate and to create the concept of atheist slavery. Destroy their cultures, destroy their feudal systems, and just create and normalize the concept of a post-industrial form of slavery that they would then unleash on the whole world when it was time. And now it's time. So the reason I think they're comfortable with that symbolism is they're proud of it. Yeah, we are. We are absolutely Sauron. We do want to enslave the world. They on some level they're proud of it, so they don't mind it. The whole illusion that they're good and yet bad is for the stupid ones, the weaker ones, the clingers. The highest level ones know the truth. Yes, we absolutely do own the world. We're not good. We don't, like, they don't have a concept of good. I was saying the other day, someone like Elon Musk has no concept of love. So if you tell him he can't love, he may feel an ego insult because you're insulting him. But when he tries to show he understands what love is, he just inevitably proves he doesn't. And some weird display of controlling people in power is what he thinks love is. Like when he showed the AI graphic of the woman obviously acting, saying, I love you. He actually likes that because, one, he owns the AI, he owns Grok. And for him, the most gratifying display would be a woman lying, trying very hard to fool him that she loves him. because to him, he's computing that as I'm so rich and so powerful, this woman will orient her whole life around trying to please me. That's what he thinks love is. He has no concept of love. And so in a similar way, these people, the highest levels of the Satan Club, they don't have a concept of reward for being good or helping people. The more you say they're evil, the happier they don't even have happiness. The more exhilarated they are, because it's just a reminder of how powerful and how much they control the slaves, right? So the answer is, even though it casts them in a bad light, the ones who know enough are low-key flattered by the idea this Christian nothing disapproves of them. I think actually God approves of our deeds. That's ironic to them because they don't believe in God. So what they're saying to themselves is, we decide what's approving. We answer only to ourselves. So in a low-key way, something like Lord of the Rings to them is like MAGA, in the way they like MAGA because the idea these poor Christian chuds would ever think they have power, that they're with them. It tickles them to trick them with an antichrist-like figure. And in a similar way, a Christian author being like, I don't like the Illuminati, is like, too bad, we ruled the world, we did fascism, we did communism, and we stole all of West Germany's shit after we owned it. Ooh. Yeah, so I feel like one of the things that's hardest for me as a normal person, if anything, I'm on the far end of a pro-social person who's empathetic to, is the concept of people who like being evil, what we consider evil, which is just being harmed, just controlling, just consuming and taking and feeling nothing. But when you accept it just be like that, they're like that. Like, I'm almost the polar opposite of someone like Elon Musk, in the sense he also has social deficiencies, and a lot of sociopaths will get clocked as autistic because they do seem abnormal. But their deficiencies are different. They don't have an apathy to power and social hierarchy and things like that. They have an apathy to caring. So they can't feel love, they can't feel empathy, they can't feel compassion. They can only feel power. It's like fuck or be fucked. That's all they can feel. And they're either the one controlling and making moves into the future of how to fuck you over, or they're the one being taken advantage of. That's all they see the world as, like a chess game to enslave people. They don't feel love, they don't feel compassion, they don't feel empathy. I'm the polar opposite of that, and I'm deficient in those emotions, but my empathy and compassion, if anything, is higher than most people. Probably because I'm deficient in, like, wanting things for myself, wanting power, wanting status. Most people have that. A healthy average person has that moderately. And they're a little less empathetic, compassionate, self-sacrificial, which is why nobody has my politics, and nobody says the things I would say, which is like, as with a $60,000 a year salary, I would pay more taxes to help people. No, like, these people would be making 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, trillions, and they'd never say that. But sociopaths also have social deficiencies, seem odd, except their deficiency is empathy, compassion, caring, anything anyone feels. And you can see little windows into that, like Elon posting that grok graphic, not realizing how weird that looks to everybody. So the answer is, the reason they liked Lord of the Rings is it's something that would amuse them. This Christian nothing disapproves of us. God approves of our deeds. We are God. And it's just bragging. The brag of a sociopath. And it helps if you're someone like me to understand there are just some people where they have no concern what they do in the world. Like, they don't care what effect they have on anybody but themselves and power specifically. So when you accept that about that some people exist like that and they cluster at the top, it will make sense why they find that amusing, why they like that message.